Today on Sports World, with the Queen Mary as a backdrop, the 1985 IndyCar season begins as Mario Andretti returns to the race that began the road to the crown of the national championship. Last year, Andretti totally dominated the 11 turns at Long Beach. It was to be the first of his 6 victories. The Newman-Haas team rejoiced that the long dry spell was over and they had found the winning ways once again. The season was long and well fought, with Mario challenged for the ultimate race of the season by this man, Tom Sneva. Sneva drove desperately to win the race, but the well-disciplined Andretti won his 4th national crown and the right on the nose of his car to carry the #1 of the national champion once again. But today, the slate is clean as the fight is renewed on the streets of Long Beach, as the finest drivers in the world in the world's fastest cars are ready to contest in the first round of the 1985 season, the CART Grand Prix of Long Beach. Plus, a report on the All-American High School basketball game. Top high school players from across the country compete in this 8th annual East-West Shootout, whose alumni include some of the greatest players in the sport today. That's all today on NBC Sports World.
This is NBC's Sports World, and today it's brought to you by your Toyota dealer and his #1 selling line of small trucks. By Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. By Autolite Spark Plugs. If Autolite's on it, there's copper in it. And by Allstate. For home, auto, business, health, and life, you're in good hands with Allstate.
You know why I come to
the Southern California oceanside city of Long Beach? A city of water recreation, a city of great beauty and great growth. A tranquil, peaceful city. But today, on Linden Avenue, or past the marina, coming down from downtown, or underneath the convention center. For today, it's race day in Long Beach, California, the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. And the crowds, over 67,000 people, the largest crowd ever to see the Indy cars in Long Beach, are here and ready. So are the movie stars. Elkie Summer, Paul Newman is here and ready. And Mario Andretti is ready to defend his championship.
I think I've enjoyed this championship tremendously because I appreciate it. I know how hard I worked for it, and I know how hard it is to achieve it.
Last year, finishing 2nd in the PPG World Series, Tom Sneva.
Well, the transition's been better than I thought. You know, we've got new equipment, new personnel, new organization, basically, and it is very difficult to get those things all to come together. I'm happy with where we're at, and, you know, if we run all day, we'll be in good shape for the opening race with the Skull Bandit.
In 1984, Bobby Rahal was the winningest driver in the second half of the season, finishing 3rd.
We've done a lot of testing, and if anything, that's given us the confidence. Not so much that we did so well last year, but the fact that we've had a good testing season and we're doing well here. You know you can do it, so it's just a matter of doing it.
In 1984, Danny Sullivan had 3 victories, finished 4th in the lineup.
I think Rogers really one of the best teams going, and it's a new team and a fresh sponsor for me and Miller, and we got everything going. The technology's great, and I think at the end of the season it's all going to pay off, and we're going to be right up there in the championship.
Those are the top 4 drivers from 1984, but will they remain in those positions in 1985? Well, that's anybody's guess. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and since you last saw the Indy Cars of CART on NBC last November, there have been tremendous changes. The builders have been constantly working all winter long, a whole group of new cars, and the teams, well, they've changed as well. Danny Sullivan moves from Doug Shearson to Penske Racing. Al Unser Jr. from Gallus to Lotus, and then to Doug Shearson. Jeff Brabham from Craco Wolf to the Gallus team. Bruno Giacomelli and Emerson Fittipaldi to Patrick Racing. Tom Sneva from McLaren to Gurney. Johnny Rutherford to the Alex Morales team. Howdy Holmes from McLaren to Forsyth, and Kevin Kogan from Forsyth to Craco Wolf. And to add to all of those changes, there's a whole paschal of new rookies ready to drive Indianapolis cars this year. With us again on the NBC coverage, Bobby Unser, three-time Indianapolis 500 champion, his own inimitable style of calling the races. Bobby, this is a quality year for Indianapolis cars.
Oh, darn sure is. You know, and I'm going to tell you something really interesting. Number one, the top 21 cars in this race are 1985 cars, meaning there's 15 new Marches, 8 new Lolas, there's 2 new Eagles. This totals up to approximately $5 million worth of cars and engines, not to count any of the spares. That means it's the highest amount of money ever spent on Indianapolis cars or any cars in American motor racing in 1 year, Paul.
There he is, four-time national driving champion, a world driving champion, the winningest road racer in kart, Mario Andretti, on the pole. He's prepared. The outside of the front row, Bobby Rahal, the winningest driver in the second half of last season. A tremendous challenge to Andretti. The field is now set and ready and awaiting the command. And to give it, Robert McCurry, the vice president of Toyota.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Are fired and ready on Shoreline Drive in Long Beach. Bobby Unser, a lot of questions about to be answered here today. All winter long, a lot of talk. It's over now.
Well, it certainly is over. I'll guarantee you that all the mechanics, all the owners, and all the drivers are looking to see whether their testing has been right all year, whether they've made the right decisions on which car to buy, and etc. Today is the first race of the year.
One of the most quality fields kart has ever seen begins now to pull away on Shoreline Drive, and we'll be back for the start right after this.
Into very critical in entry.
As they're on the warm-up laps now, let's meet the starting field and take a look at the circuit at Long Beach. On the pole with a new track record is Mario Andretti, the defending champion here.
Turn 1 and 2 very critical in entry, especially turn 1, because you're coming down from the highest speed on the course, about 190 miles an hour. You're slowing down to about 70. It's very, very important to enter very clean, exit properly so you can enter turn 2 immediately in a proper line.
And alongside him is Bobby Rahal, certainly one of the best all-around drivers that we have on the kart circuit today, describing turn 3.
It's one that, a corner, I think that you just want to get through it more than anything.
On the inside of the second row, Al Unser Jr. as he passes through the turn 4 area.
It's a third gear corner. It's a right-hander. We touch the brakes just a little bit.
And alongside of Al is Jeff Brabham, very good road race driver.
Turn 5 is pretty tricky for me because it always seems like you can brake a lot deeper into the corner than you really can, and it's very easy to get in there a little bit hot and miss the apex and just mess the corner up. So you've really got to have a lot of self-control going into the corner so that you don't go in too hard.
Inside the third row, Emerson Fittipaldi, two-time world driving champion at turn 6.
You have to get the right line coming because it's a very narrow corner. You go under the tunnel and it's dark and it's a bump. I don't like that corner. I don't like at all.
And alongside him from Italy, Bruno Giacomelli, an ex-Formula 1 driver.
Turn number 7 is a very difficult corner because it changed gear just a while before from second to third, and this is also a change in asphalt there. It's a very difficult corner.
Inside the fourth row, Canadian Jacques Villeneuve.
Turn 8 is quite of an easy turn to right-hand turn leading on the straightaway, but I think it's one of the most important turn because it leads again on the long straightaway where you need to hot brake at the end of that straightaway for turn 9, so it's really important turn.
And in turn 9, Roberto Guerrero, the 1984 kart Rookie of the Year.
Turn 9 for sure is the toughest turn on the track, and the reason for it is that there's a huge bump right on the apex of it. That once you turn in, you put the power down, it just throws the car up in the air, and it just upsettles it very badly. So it's definitely the worst turn on the track.
Inside the 5th row, looking for his 4th kart win, Danny Sullivan in turn 10.
Turn 10 is a little bit deceiving. You'll see all of us come in on the early, very close to the wall. It's one of those corners where you think you can gain a lot of speed, but you actually can't because of the turn right after that. You'll be going too fast, and it'll eat you in that turn 11.
And turn 11 is important. Here's Jim Crawford, the 4th place finisher last year.
Turn 11 is probably one of the tightest bends on any motor racing circuit in the world. If it's done right, it's relatively easy, but if you do it wrong, you get yourself in all sorts of bother that you'll never recover from.
As we take a look at the rest of the field, you'll notice a lot of foreign accents in that top 10. 11 of the 28 starters are foreign-born. 7 of them are in the top 10. There are 3 world driving titles here, 4 national champions. Now, let's go to the pits and Gary Gerould.
Well, Paul, we're here at Mario Andretti's pits, and of course it was a year ago that Mario used the streets of Long Beach as a springboard toward a tremendous season, 6 wins, and ultimately a national championship victory. The general consensus among car owners, drivers, crew members is that this year more teams are better prepared than perhaps at any time in IndyCar history. Bobby Unser was pointing out all the millions that have been spent, all the new cars that are now poised and ready, the testing that is going on at tracks all over the country in the last few months. And these teams, these contenders, are about to find out now if all the hard work and all the money that's been spent has been enough to narrow the gap on Andretti as he starts his quest here at Long Beach for a 2nd consecutive national championship. There's another former national champion who unfortunately is on the sidelines for this race today. He'd love to be on the streets of Long Beach, but that's not the case. Bruce Jenner is standing by with him now at the opposite end of the pits.
As the cars are out there rolling, there's one gentleman very identified with the IndyCar circuit who is not going to be in a car this time, but you will be in the next race. Rick Mears, Indianapolis winner. And Rick, we certainly are going to miss you out there, but because of your injuries last year, you just don't think you're ready for a red course.
Well, you know, we may have been ready, but we just thought it'd be the smart thing to do is to pass on this one to make sure we didn't do any damage before Indianapolis. So that was the main reason.
There has been some changes because of accidents like yours and Derek Daly to the foot boxes in the cars, and it seems to be a step in the right direction.
It definitely is. I think had it been that way last year, my injuries might not have been so severe, but you know, it's a step in the right direction, like you said, and I think it's really going to help. And they're going to continue on, and I think the 86 rules will be even better yet. So it's going the right way, like you're talking about.
Cars are out there on the track getting ready for the green flag. How's your heart doing?
It's beating pretty good right now. I'd much rather be out there than in here.
I can't blame you.
It's whatever it takes.
All right, next month.
Next month, okay.
Paul? Thank you, Bruce. Bobby, they have strengthened and extended the noses on these cars.
Well, actually, they've just taken the frame, as most people know, at the tub and moved it forward as a complete deal instead of an add-on thing.
Mario Andretti and Bobby Rahal, the front row, looking toward Nick Quinoro, the starter. And there it is, the green flag, and they are racing at Long Beach. On Shoreline Drive, Andretti pulls out in front as the field comes safely through. Rahal drops into 2nd place. It's Mario Andretti heading for the first turn. Now Rahal pulls wide to challenge Andretti. Can't do it. That's Little Allen 3rd, Jeff Brabham 4th. Villeneuve is in 5th. They come through the first, and somebody tagged someone there. It looks like Michael Andretti might have slapped into Guerrero. Both cars continue on. Andretti leads this race. Remember, last year he led every lap here at Long Beach.
This year, Paul, you got to remember that all the drivers, or at least most of the drivers, have at least 1 year of experience here, which ought to tend for a lot better competition today.
You notice as Michael Andretti came through, he had no nose on his car, so he got a hold of somebody. Jose Legarza off in the first turns as well, so apparently 3 cars together on that accident. Turn 9.
Oh, look at the cars getting the air, Paul. They absolutely almost come off the ground on that bump. It's so bad.
Object of controversy, the bump in turn 9. It's at the apex. They have to go over it. As they come now back to the main stretch, Shoreline, and Mario Andretti leads Bobby Rahal. Begins now to disappear. Lap number 1 belongs to Andretti.
If you'll notice, coming off of turn 11, Bobby Rahal got very sideways, and that's pretty hard driving for Rahal this early in the race.
Andretti continues his lead. Rahal is second in a March. Little Al in a Lola is third. So Lola, March, Lola at the front of this race.
Well, it looks like Bobby Rahal's on the defense. He's defending from Little Al rather than chase Mario right now, and that's really going to help Mario with a little bit of a buffer.
The battle is for second place. It's Bobby Rahal trying to hold off Little Al, but Little Al is right there. And look at him. Boy, he's chopping at him. He's pushing him hard under the garage area. Little Al closing down. Something popped at the back of Rahal. Rahal straight off the course into the tire barrier.
Paul, his left front tire made a sharp turn to the left. Something broke in the front suspension.
So Bobby Rahal slides into the barrier. Looks like the car is done, and that moves Little Al up to second. Everybody from Little Al on back benefits by one position.
Well, even though it looks like everybody's in the same position right now, Kevin Kogan and Al Unser, my brother, have moved up 2 positions. Kevin has actually moved up 6 positions, and the Wolf Systems car looking very good right now.
There's that bright yellow machine. Big Al in 10th place. Kevin Kogan in 13th place. Mario Andretti continues to lead. Here comes Jacques Villeneuve around Jeff Brabham, holds on to it, and Villeneuve moves up into 3rd place.
That was a good pass. He did that right on the inside, and Villeneuve is really looking good. I think this is about the best that I've seen him look since he's been in the Indianapolis Car Circuit.
On this very tight 11-turn circuit at Long Beach, there are really 2 key places to pass. You just saw one of them at the end of the Shoreline Straight. The other one is at turn 9 at the end of the Seaside Straight. There's Bobby Rahal. He's out of his car. He's apparently uninjured. The car into the barrier. Bobby, let's take a look at Rahal's accident, see if we can tell what happened.
Well, here he comes. Uh-oh, you see the smoke right there, and yet if you watch Little Al's car, there was none, and see the left front tire on Rahal's car. He just turned to the left, and of course, he had no steering right there.
So no question, something broke on Bobby Rahal's car. There's Jacques Villeneuve now riding in 3rd as he begins pursuit of the 2nd place machine, the Domino's Hot One of Al Unser Jr. Mario Andretti is still the leader. Let's go down to the Jim Truman pits and see if we can find out what happened to Rahal.
You started off last year with a lot of bad luck. You're able to turn things around at the end of the season. It looks like it started off the same way this year.
Well, it's the 2nd lap of the first race. That's pretty early, but I don't really have too much I can say. I hope it's not an omen for the season. We've come here with pretty high hopes and expectations, and I guess we just have to get ready to go to in a month or so.
Disappointment.
A bit.
All right, thank you.
Gentlemen, Jim Truman, one of the nicest men in the sport, a grand owner and a pretty good race driver in his own right. They still really haven't talked with Bobby Rahal, so they don't know what the problem might be. Mario Andretti continues to lay laps down out in front. Mario Andretti, car number 1, the Beatrice Lola, out in front. He has a nice lead now in this race, running very smooth. This may be a repeat of last year's flag-to-flag victory.
Well, it certainly could be, Paul. That car is really handling good. He just absolutely looks like it's glued to the road, and there's no jerking. It's just a smooth race car today.
Nice soft setup on the suspension. Bobby Rahal's car, that damage to the left front actually happened before it hit the tire barrier as Andretti comes through that area and on to Seaside Way. But Andretti with a very smooth ride. There you see Little Al in 2nd place, the interval 1st to 2nd, and Jacques Villeneuve begins to close down now.
So Jacques is really moving fast. And look at the car. Look at Little Al's car. Completely in the air. All 4 tires at one time in the air at that bad bump.
That's the bump that everybody's talking about. They say that any problems created by that bump will show up in the gearbox and in the drivetrain.
Well, the reason, Paul, is it really twists the chassis hard, because when it gets in the air and then comes down, it's a very hard hit, and those stiff springs tend to really jar the chassis.
Roberto Guerrero in. Let's go to Gary Gerould.
An unscheduled stop, Paul, and there appears to be a problem on the left rear. It was not turning as Guerrero came in. We don't know if it's flat or if there's a problem back there with the suspension. They are, at any rate, making a change on both rear tires.
Jacques Villeneuve battling now for 2nd place with Al Unser Jr. A tremendous fight for 2nd, while Roberto Guerrero remains in the pits. But look at Villeneuve. He closes down. He's beginning to stalk Little Al. Al watching his rear views.
Well, Guerrero's getting ready to leave the pits, and there he goes with Paul. There's something wrong with the left rear in that car. I don't think it's been fixed yet.
Guerrero still not at speed. Some smoke at the back of the car as he comes down to the end of the pit road, and the smoke appeared to be at the left rear. Now remember, Little Andretti, Michael Andretti, hit the back of this car on lap 1.
Well, you can obviously see that there's something wrong. As the car moves, the left rear is just not tracking proper.
Here's the fight for second place. Villeneuve still closing, still trying to get past as they come over that bump in 9, and you saw the back of Little Al's car just jump right off the ground. Little Al in a Lola, Villeneuve in a March.
Well, when you see a car jump that high off the ground, Paul, you know darn good and well it's really twisting that transmission.
Now on the shoreline straight as the speed begins to pick up, Villeneuve closing down behind Little Al. Picks up an advantage of the draft as they head for the first turn. He darts inside, pushes Little Al to the outside, and Villeneuve comes around turn 1 into second place.
You know, right now I think that Villeneuve probably has the best handling car on the whole track, even including Mario's. And I think right now he's probably gaining on Mario.
Well, it certainly handles well coming off the hairpin, turn 11. Because of that, he comes off a little bit faster. He can carry that speed all the way down that long straight. That gives him the advantage when he gets to turn 1. Villeneuve, car 76, he rides in second right now and begins to pursue the leader, Mario Andretti.
And right behind him, you have Little Al, and then you have Jeff Brabham, and there is Emerson Fittipaldi bringing up the Patrick team and trying to make a pass on Jeff. Let's see if no, he doesn't make it.
Emerson Fittipaldi knocking on Jeff Brabham's back door. The Patrick Racing Team, both cars, Fittipaldi, Giacomelli, running together on the circuit as they begin to move. And Fittipaldi gets around Brabham for 4th place. Now Giacomelli comes around Brabham. Looks like Jeff missed a gear coming onto the main stretch.
He obviously did. He either broke something or he missed a gear, and I'd say he has to miss a gear shift, Paul.
Michael Andretti and Danny Sullivan got past Brabham as well.
Rafael Guerrero is still trying to leave, and now I can see it for sure. He has probably a radius rod broken on the left rear of his car.
Now remember, Michael Andretti punched him on the start, so perhaps that is the damage resulting from that accident. There is your leader, Mario Andretti, out in front. He is still running very, very smooth, nice and quick on this circuit.
He can really, really be choosy right now on how he does. He can be extra smooth because he has nobody chasing him hard. But there comes Jacques Villeneuve, and he is gaining a little bit on Mario right now.
So Villeneuve begins to eat at Mario Andretti's lead. First and second substantially separated. No battle between second and third as we watch the Canadian Tire car moving around this course.
Well, I'll bet the people from Canada are really proud of their boy right now because he's looking good.
Here is Jeff Brabham into the pits. Remember, it appeared that he missed a gear. Let's go down to Gary Gerould.
Jeff Brabham coming in, and the Rick Gallis number 7 machine. They don't know specifically what the problem is, but there was talk in the pits that they may have fouled some plugs, and it appears that they're taking the equipment now out onto the car over the wall to perhaps change spark plugs. We understand that they had a problem along those lines in qualifying and in practice yesterday. They're concerned that that may be the problem now. So Jeff Brabham, who had qualified 4th, had high hopes after a second-place finish last year, now sets in the pits as the rest of the field storms through the streets of Long Beach.
Well, Paul, from my vantage point, I can see it. Now they've moved to the gearbox. He obviously has problems with the gear shift lever. That's what they're working on.
Emerson Fittipaldi on Seaside Way moves around Little Allen into 3rd place. Fittipaldi 5 times in Formula One, raced on this Long Beach circuit, also raced here last year with Cart's first race in Long Beach. And now Bruno Giacomelli begins to challenge Little Al.
You know, both of those guys are just super good road racers. The Patrick team has really come a long way just by getting these two guys to run the road circuits for them.
Giacomelli in that car is so familiar, the number 20 of Gordon Johncock, but Johncock's going to drive the ovals. Giacomelli will have it on the road courses, and look at Giacomelli as he just dusts Little Al off in the first third.
Well, both of them are just really moving up, and I think that pretty soon that they're going to be a contender. I think Mario better start watching his mirrors for those two.
You could also see there, Bobby, Michael Andretti currently running in 6th place, still no nose on the car, and Danny Sullivan right behind him. Without having the nose on Michael's car, does that affect him at all?
Well, it won't on a track like this, but the question is did it bend some other things while he was losing the nose? That may be the problem.
Well, Michael Andretti running in 6th place right now, still appears to be handling without problem.
Well, normally I would think that Michael would be up a little closer to the front than he is, Paul. I have a little hunch that maybe it has hurt him just a little bit.
Al Unser Jr. now trying to hold off Michael Andretti. Danny Sullivan back in 7th place has moved up from 9th as the leaders begin to encounter the slower cars in the field and work their way through. But the question now is, Al Unser Jr., who qualified 3rd, is now back to 5th. Gary Gerould is in his pits. Gary, what's the problem there?
apparently he has lost boost. According to the crew, he's down to 45 inches, and of course the maximum allowed is 48. But that 3 inches of boost that he's lost, greatly affecting his performance, that seemingly is accounted for the fact that he has been sliding back in this progression of events in the early laps at Long Beach.
Well, that 3 inches of boost would account for almost 60 horsepower, so he's definitely off of the pace. There's the leader, Mario Andretti. He's led right from the green flag. We'll be back. Mario Andretti has led right from the green flag. Can he repeat last year's race? Andretti out in front. Let's go to the pits and Gary.
Well, it's funny how things develop in the course of a race, but Mario Andretti is working at a bit of a disadvantage here in the early going because he has only one-way radio communication. They can hear Mario here in his pits, but they can't talk to him. Mario cannot hear them. So when it comes time for the first of the pit stops or for any problems on the course, it could be much more difficult for Andretti and his crew.
Howdy Holmes, number 33, the Forsythe car. The right front wheel is off.
Boy, some mechanic is going to get talked to about that, Paul. I think it's just a small wonder that he was able to lose the wheel and not have a wreck. It's a miracle.
As Danny Sullivan comes past, he has to be very careful not to damage the aerodynamic devices on the underside of the car.
Well, he's obviously rubbing the tub on the ground. In other words, the frame of the race car. Can't be doing any good, although there are 2 rubbing blocks underneath the car.
Mario Andretti, you heard the report from Gary Gerould. He is running without radio communication, and they've really come to depend on radio.
I know that, Paul, but remember now, he can talk to them, so he'll ask a question, and they'll give him the answer back via the pit board 1 lap later. So he's really not totally without.
It's still not the communication that they have become most accustomed to.
What they really do, Paul, is when Mario wants something like tires, he'll hold up number 1 finger. If he wants a wing change, he'll hold up 2 fingers. So they still can communicate. It's just usually a lap later.
Villeneuve in second place, threading his way through traffic. Howdy Holmes has finally made it back into the pit area. Let's go to Gary.
Well, down here, Barry Green and the crew on the Forsythe pits have been wondering where their man was on the race course. Now that's been answered. He comes in without the right front wheel. They'll immediately replace that. Looks like it'll also be fresh rubber on the rear. This is a brand new Lola, so Forsythe Brothers Racing shaking down a new car in their first venture here at Long Beach. It's not the start that they'd hoped for, but it looks like they will at least be able to get Holmes back on course. Crew taking plenty of time, making sure that everything is back up to the proper standards. They have now completed the refueling process, waiting for the car to come down off the jacks. Now he's back on the pavement, and away Holmes goes.
Howdy Holmes back into the competition, but well off the pace because of the slow lap he took on 3 wheels. There's Emerson Fittipaldi, third place. Bruno Giacomelli, his teammate, right behind him. They're chasing down Jacques Villeneuve.
I can really see the difference as the cars go through those turns right there, Paul, and the difference of the air pressure that each car has. Some of them have very low air pressure. Some of them, the tires are kind of hard.
There's Jacques Villeneuve's second place. His best finish in kart occurred here at Long Beach last year when he finished 6th. Mario Andretti, the leader, has just come around one of the rookies this year at kart. Harry Lewandijk, who is running well back in the field. Kevin Kogan started 18th, has now moved up to 11th. So Kogan having a good ride going for him. And Howdy Holmes back in the pits, Bobby.
Remember, he came in a long ways on the bottom of that tub, rubbing on the ground. I think it must have done some damage, more than we could tell.
Mario Andretti, that brand new Lola T900. Ever so smooth all around this circuit. He has led right from the green flag. Last year, he led flag to flag. And it looks like he's on his way to repeating it. The question mark will be, how will the tactics of this event be played? Look how far back Villeneuve is. There comes Emerson Fittipaldi around in third place, but they are so far back from Andretti, they're not even in the contest.
Well, you know, it's eventually going to come down to a fuel contest is really what it's going to be. It's a 150-mile race, Paul, and some of the cars are going to try to make it on 1 stop, but I think most of them are going to have to make 2 stops. Let's just see what happens on that.
There's Danny Sullivan in 5th place. He started 9th and has been working his way up. So a good ride for Danny Sullivan, his first for Roger Penske. The Penske stable this year purchased both Marches and Lolas, and they decided to go with the March temporarily, at least until they have a new Penske PC-14 built, but many of them feel that won't be until next year. So it's Danny Sullivan. He fell back a few positions on the start, is now up to 5th place. They are all chasing car number 1. Mario Andretti, the defending champion, the defending national champion.
Well, if he keeps going like he's going, they're going to be chasing him all the rest of the day, Paul.
Mario Andretti, unchallenged. There's Kevin Kogan against the wall. Looks like he took the wing off. Kogan, who had such a great run going, he gets started, but the wing is gone. Let's see if he gets the engine lit again. He's right in the center of the course. Very dangerous position. Now the corner worker's out to help.
He stalled the engine, Paul. He stalled his engine. That's bad.
As Kogan tries to restart, the leader, Mario Andretti, comes by. We'll be back with more of the Long Beach Grand Prix. The Patrick Racing Team running third and fourth now. Giacomelli and Fittipaldi, and then Danny Sullivan. Now closing down behind Fittipaldi and challenging for fourth as Kevin Kogan climbs out of his car. Apparently the damage too much to repair in the pits. Kogan is out of the race. The battle on the course is for fourth.
Well, I'm watching Danny Sullivan. I've been watching him for a while, and Danny is planning some passing. He's been playing around with Emerson, and he's looking for the way, and I think that he's got a way figured. Let's watch and see here.
Bruno Giacomelli out around a slower car. That's Howdy Holmes. And now, look at Sullivan. He cuts inside Fittipaldi. Hangs on, and Sullivan is in fourth place. Nice, clean pass. Used Holmes' car to his advantage.
He certainly did. He's been planning that pass, though. I've been watching that, Paul.
So Danny Sullivan, doing some real thinking, comes around. Two-time world driving champion Emerson Fittipaldi, and now begins to pull away. He came off of turn 11 real strong.
Well, I noticed that Danny's been working a lot better where the racetrack is slippery, Paul, and Emerson was just holding him up. That's all there was to it.
Bobby Rahal finally back to the pits after his accidents. Bruce?
Very, very big disappointment this weekend. You came in with such a great effort. The Budweiser March was running great. You were right there in the front row, but what happened?
Well, I really thought we had Mario. You know, we had a good start, and he and I were running along, and I got a little bit sideways coming into a corner, and I got off it, and it, you know, all of a sudden it stuck, and it just kissed the wall just hard enough to bend the left front suspension. And the car isn't bad other than that, but unfortunately it's too bad to continue.
Bobby Rahal, one of several drivers out of this race. I think he'll be surprised to find out that it wasn't his fault. That left front actually broke away.
Well, I'm totally amazed, Paul, that he wasn't able to pick that up and understand it. Surprises me.
Might have been a little bit of a public relations answer, too, taking the heat for something that maybe happened to one of the mechanics instead of him. There's third place, the 20 car, Bruno Giacomelli, and Danny Sullivan now has his sights set on him. As we look at the leaders, Andretti, Villeneuve, Giacomelli, Sullivan, and Fittipaldi. We're back at Long Beach, where Mario Andretti continues his lead, dominating the race just like last year. He has led right from the green flag. Villeneuve second. In third is Giacomelli, followed by Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi, the two-time world champion. You know, there's more to IndyCar racing here at Long Beach than just the race itself. For example, this, the Toyota Celebrity Race, a bit slower than the IndyCars, participated in with the likes of Perry King of Riptide, Lorenzo Lamas of Falcon Crest, the big Mark Gastineau of the Jets, and Tony Danza of Who's the Boss. It wasn't all laughter for the celebrities and the pros in this race, though. John Dinkle and Don Sherman found that out. They also found out just how hard the Long Beach wall can be. Looks like rush hour on the 405 freeway. Al Unser Jr. came through the pack as a professional and picked up the lead, passing through the group of celebrities that started in front. Then Lorenzo Lamas began to chase Al Unser Jr. It was a great fight, and the fans absolutely loved it. They worked their way back and forth on the winding turns. Al Unser Jr. won the race overall and the Pro Division. And Lorenzo Lamas came through as the celebrity champ.
Too much fun.
Everybody loves racing at Long Beach, a city that has seen a great deal of growth in recent years. The new marina in the Long Beach Harbor. It's a world of difference from the old days of the Pacific Fleet and the Long Beach Pike and the trolley cars. This is the way that the area that the race is staged on looked years ago. It's changed dramatically now. Now the Long Beach Harbor is used for water recreation, and of course there's the Queen Mary and the Spruce Goose. We'll be back with more from Long Beach. We're back in Long Beach. The leader, Mario Andretti, working on lap 37. Second place, Jacques Villeneuve. Bruno Giacomelli is in third. In fourth, Danny Sullivan, who's moved up from ninth. And Emerson Fittipaldi sits now in fifth position, right behind Danny Sullivan.
Well, Danny Sullivan's still moving up, and we're having a very, very, very tight race brewing for second place right now, Paul.
Sullivan's hand in the air. He heads into the pits. There was a big question. When would they stop for the pit stops? Here's the Penske team on standby as Danny Sullivan heads down for the stop. Let's go to Bruce Jenner.
A hard-charging Danny Sullivan into the pits. They're going to be changing all 4 tires and full fuel. Chuck Sprague, the crew chief, working on that left front tire. Danny Sullivan sitting in the cockpit seems to be very cool and calm, just like the Penske crew. Waiting for the fuel to vent out the top. And the fuel is full. They undo the vent, and now they're waiting to take it off the jacks as Chuck Sprague is working on that right front tire. All 4 tires on, and Danny Sullivan back into the race.
And look how calm and easy that Penske team handles that stop. Now, that was on lap 37. The question is, how long before Mario stops? It should be any time now. And, Bobby, if they stopped on lap 37, that means it's going to be a 2-pit stop race.
Well, it will be for Danny, but remember, Mario still hasn't come in. Now we'll start looking to see what some of the other cars do, but for Danny, I promise you, it's going to be a 2-stopper.
So the tactics now beginning to play. There's Jacques Villeneuve. He currently runs in second place. Right in front of him is Tom Sneva running in ninth in the brand new Dan Gurney Eagle. It's not as radical as the Eagles have been in past year, and it's doing a good job for Sneva right now. Bruno Giacomelli closing down behind Villeneuve.
Well, you got to remember now, this is the first really honest-to-goodness conventional car that Gurney's built in quite a few years. Talking about Tom Sneva's car, and it's really looking good. It's the best one that John Ward has designed also.
He's also using a Cosworth engine, unlike the stock block he's used in past years. Now, the fight for second picks up through the second turn on toward 3 as Giacomelli right behind Villeneuve.
Well, you know, for a road circuit, I think it's, something's wrong with Jacques Villeneuve. Boy, they almost had a wreck right there.
Almost caught the back end. Here comes Giacomelli. Villeneuve puts his hand up, indicating that he's slowing, and Giacomelli moves into second place.
Villeneuve's running out of fuel, Paul. He's picking up air through the turns is what's happening. Let's see if he can make it around to the pits.
So Jacques Villeneuve, who had a magnificent run going for himself, now in trouble on the Seaside Straight. There his hand is up again as Giacomelli pulls a tearaway off his helmet and occupies second place, but Villeneuve completely slowing now. The engine catches, surges forward, and then runs out of fuel again.
Now this is really hurting him now. For a guy who's been running as fast as he has, now he's really in trouble.
He takes a turn. There is supposed to be a place on the back of the course that you can cut into the pits, but this is not it.
He thought this was a place pulling in the pits, Paul.
He turned way too early. Now they've got to get him going again. He's burning fuel while he's sitting there. That's a rookie mistake, isn't it? Not knowing the circuit.
Yes, it is. It's a sad thing, too. For a boy that's been running as good as he has, now he lost his engine completely. That's terrible.
The new second-place car, Bruno Giacomelli, in the pits. The Patrick team goes to work on that STP March. And Villeneuve finally finds the right place to head into the pits, and he moves down on in. Bruno Giacomelli, his stop complete, and he's out.
Not the way Jacques Villeneuve wanted to come in for the pit stop. He has dead stick as the crew rolls him up now after that little excursion off course, and now they come over the wall in force to complete what would have been a normal, or what they'd hoped would be a routine stop and an opportunity to eventually gain some ground on the leader, Mario Andretti. Instead, that is not the case. And Villeneuve, who started 7th, worked his way to 2nd, now is going to find himself far back in the back, and he'll have to start the task all over again. Of course, yes, after the tire change, they'll have to get things fired back up and get the number 76 car back on course. Here's the starter coming over the wall now, and they'll be trying to get him powered up and underway momentarily. Life coming to the car, still waiting for him to come down off the jacks. What a bitter disappointment this has to be after that impressive run. The Canadian who was brilliant at Caesars Palace last fall, who set a track record at Phoenix, he has stalled the motor. He stalled it after it came down off the jack. So this stop is going to be even longer, an excruciatingly long time now for Jacques Villeneuve, who had battled his way into contention, now far off the pace, finally back out of the pits and under power.
Villeneuve pulls away, and Freddie still leads. He has still not stopped, and you have to remember we're seeing the first pit stops of the 1985 season. The teams are just a little bit rusty. There are the standings. Remember that Sullivan and Giacomelli have stopped for fuel. The others have not. Now let's go to our studios in New York. We're back at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. This is Paul Page with Bobby Unser, Gary Gerould, and Bruce Jenner. Mario Andretti, car number 1, continues to dominate this event. He's the leader. Emerson Fittipaldi is in second. Danny Sullivan is in third. And Al Unser Jr. sits in fourth right now.
Well, one of the big things so far is how many pit stops are we going to have to be making. Mario seems to be the only one. There's Al Jr. in now. It looks like Mario's the only one that may be able to do it just with one, Paul.
While Mario Andretti, the leader, is working on lap 42, most of the cars have already made their stop. So when will Andretti come in seems to be the question. Emerson Fittipaldi currently sitting in second place now, but he comes in for a stop.
Emerson Fittipaldi coming into the pits in that 7-11 March with a strong showing for the Patrick team. From this former world driving champion, now on the kart circuit, he's taking on 3 tires and full fuel as Gary Robazzini works on the front tires, the crew chief for the Patrick team. Waiting for it to come off the jacks. Emerson Fittipaldi in the cockpit, ready to go. A little bit of trouble getting into gear, but he makes it out of the pits.
Emerson Fittipaldi pulls away, but Bobby, there was a hesitation, a jerk, as he began to pull off there. There might be something wrong in the gearbox of that car.
There's the inside from Mario. He's coming around on lap 43. That means he's going to go 44 laps at his first pit stop. That means 1 pit stop for sure for Mario.
And look at this. Emerson Fittipaldi comes out just in front of Danny Sullivan. The battle is for second place, and Sullivan, look at him, work on him. Sullivan drops inside Fittipaldi and takes some beautiful pass.
That was a beautiful pass. That was a gamble. That's the best pass we've seen all day.
Danny Sullivan now in second place. Remember, he started back in 9th, and look at him hustle this race car. A magnificent run.
He's hustling that car harder than Villeneuve did earlier. He's really looking good. I'd have to say Danny's a latecomer because he didn't drive this hard early in the race.
Well, Danny Sullivan, sitting with a full load of fuel, comes right alongside and then passes Emerson Fittipaldi, and Fittipaldi cannot catch up. Sullivan definitely has second place.
Well, Sullivan is on the move, period. I'm telling you, the guy's driving hard right now.
Mario Andretti is due for a pit stop, as Sullivan is now on the main stretch in second place. Now, Andretti put a bit extra speed on the past few laps, but is it enough to hold off Sullivan? Andretti should have just enough pad to get out of the pits in plenty of time. But here is Sullivan, second place. Andretti heading for the pits. The first test of the Newman Haas crew as the race is now on pit road.
Mario Andretti streaming into the pits, sets his brakes, now comes to a full stop for quick service here. They're hoping that they've gone far enough that they can make this race on one stop. Fresh rubber on the outside. We'll see if they come down to the inside of the pit wall. There will be a tire change on the right front, topping off with fuel. A Belgian flame out of the back from the engine compartment. It'll be a 3-tire change, a full load of fuel. Andretti is down, he's away.
The Beatrice Lola screams away. Bobby, a wonderfully disciplined pit stop.
Well, they did a good job. I'm telling you, that crew works hard on that type of thing. They work hard on all the little details. They're really looking good.
Here comes Danny Sullivan onto the main stretch, but Andretti is already in the first turn. Sullivan running behind Andretti now. The interval right at 11 seconds behind Andretti, but Sullivan is definitely on the charge.
Well, Sullivan's moving hard, and if I have to guess it right now, with Mario being completely full of fuel, I'd say Danny's going to pick up a little bit on it.
The other question, too, Andretti went to lap 44 of this 90-lap race. Will he have to stop again, Bobby Unser?
No, he will not have to stop again, because remember, he did 44 laps plus the 3 warm-up laps. Danny Sullivan has to stop again, so Danny is going to have to pass Mario some way. He's going to have to get a long distance on him, otherwise he just doesn't stand a chance.
Boy, I'm not so sure that Andretti isn't going to have to stop. It's going to be mighty close. Mario Andretti, car number 1, with Danny Sullivan closing behind him. The battle is for the lead. Let's look. There's Andretti coming under the bridge. Just coming onto the main stretch now is Danny Sullivan. We'll put the watches on him as Andretti comes down toward the first turn. There he is. He starts his turn-in off of Shoreline Drive. Looking upstream now. There's a back marker, and then Danny Sullivan is coming down. 2 slower cars, and there is Sullivan. Sullivan is beginning to close.
Well, he's a long ways behind. but he doesn't really have a lot of traffic to work with.
Look at him work that car, though, as he powers off the corners. Drops under those two cars, lickety-split. What a nice run.
Now, that's where he's making his time, right there. He's making those impossible passes, and he's the only car on the whole course that's doing that.
Howdy Holmes lets him through. He knows that's one of the leaders coming. But Danny is really working that Penske Miller machine.
He has places to pass that are just no other driver's done all day, and I really don't understand that.
Of course, Danny Sullivan has had more than one opportunity to learn this circuit. Remember, he drove for Ken Tyrrell in Formula One on a circuit here at Long Beach, very, very close to this one.
Well, he did, and of course, this is a lot better road than we had in that very beginning, and Danny's really had no more time on the new one than anybody else, Paul.
Last year, Danny Sullivan finished 24th here at Long Beach. He's in a lot better shape today. The 40 car, Emerson Fittipaldi, is the third-place machine, and he is trying to catch up with Sullivan. Let's watch the interval now. There's Sullivan coming through, and Emerson Fittipaldi comes through 6.6 seconds back of Danny Sullivan. So first, second, and third spread out, but Sullivan is closing down on our leader, Mario Andretti.
My guess is that Roger Penske has told Danny Sullivan that he's going to have to pass Mario and get about a 30-second lead in order to have a chance of winning the race.
Bruno Giacomelli in the pits. He's answering the black flag. They say that he had a pit violation on his departure from his last pit stop. Of course, anytime they stop in the pits, they hook up the fuel hoses, take on whatever load of fuel they can. Bruno Giacomelli back into the action. Mario Andretti still leads and is running through traffic.
He's in traffic, but remember, Danny Sullivan's been getting through that traffic a little bit better. We need to check and see if Danny isn't gaining just a little bit on Mario.
Well, the indications are that Danny Sullivan is indeed closing down on our leader, Mario Andretti. In Mario's pit right now is Gary Gerould with this report. Go ahead, Gary.
There are many obvious rewards that come with winning a national championship. I happen to have here in my hand just one of those that is a memento of the 1984 season that Mario Andretti and his crew enjoyed. This beautiful ring, which features 6 individual diamonds, one for each win on the 1984 kart schedule, surrounding a giant stone here in the middle that represents, of course, the national championship. One of these rings going to every member of Mario's crew as a memento of the tremendous success they enjoyed last year. It's this kind of little bonus that they're seeking here at Long Beach as they start the 85 campaign.
Well, Bobby Unser just mentioned how well Danny Sullivan is handling the traffic, and look at this. Mario Andretti has had to fight some back markers, and Danny Sullivan has closed up and is now less than 150 yards behind our leader, Mario Andretti. Sullivan still has some traffic to contend with, but he's doing it very well.
Well, he has no choice. By now, like I said, Penske has already told him that he has to do it because it's 1 pit stop versus 2. He has to make 2. Mario's only going to make 1, if my guess is right.
Danny Sullivan hops over that bump in turn 9. Now just Jim Crawford and Jeff Brabham are sitting in front of him, and then just in front of those 2 cars is Mario Andretti. So now Danny Sullivan begins to charge for the lead. We'll be back with more from Long Beach. At the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, where Danny Sullivan is trying to chase down the leader, Mario Andretti. Sullivan is about 150 yards back from Andretti. He has 2 slower cars between himself and Andretti. Jim Crawford currently running in 8th. Jeff Brabham currently running in 7th, 1 lap off of the leaders. Now, if Sullivan can get past, then he begins his challenge with Mario Andretti. Remember, both these cars have made pit stops. The question is whether or not both Sullivan and Andretti can go the full 90 laps of this race without making another pit stop. For Sullivan, it is doubtful, and no one seems to have that answer for Mario Andretti at all. And now Sullivan has moved his way past Jim Crawford. He has only 1 car between himself and the leader.
Paul, I think what's happened right now is that Mario's cut back his boost a little bit. I notice he's having a little bit more problem getting by the traffic, and I think Danny, being he almost surely he's going to have to make 2 pit stops, is running more boost. So if that's correct, Danny should be catching Mario not too far from now.
And if Mario has indeed cut his boost back, then it's a very, very smart move because it means he will save some fuel.
Well, it means he's only going to make 1 stop. That'll show his intent right there.
So Mario Andretti slowing down just a bit, cuts the boost down. That gives Sullivan a chance to catch up, but the tactics have become so very, very important Here comes Sullivan up behind Jeff Brabham. He is trying to catch the leader, Mario Andretti. It's a terrific ride that he's giving this machine. Look at him hustle his way through traffic as he comes through turn 11 and heads on to Shoreline Drive again.
You know, he's trying to pass two pretty quick cars right there, in case you haven't noticed.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve was right in there, and he was certainly good in the early going, though he's fallen well off the leader's pace. There in the 21 car is Johnny Rutherford. He started 20th. He's currently running in 10th place as Mario Andretti comes around him, and Danny Sullivan comes around Jeff Brabham and closes even more on Andretti.
Boy, did you see that Danny get loose right there? He had a little tweak in it right there. That Danny is really on the move. Danny boy's going to be charging hard now.
He is a delight to watch, as now he comes up behind Villeneuve, who ran second for a while. Then you remember had his fuel problem. He's around Rutherford, around Villeneuve, and now it is Andretti that's in front of him. He's got Andretti targeted.
He passed those two faster cars. Those are pretty fast cars he passed. He passed them right when he got to them. He didn't care where it was.
Andretti through turn 9 now. Sullivan in hot pursuit. The crowd beginning to sense this battle for the lead as they motor their way through turn 10. Turn through the hairpin. They're on Shoreline again. Now can Sullivan catch Andretti? Andretti's got some slower cars in front. Back up to maximum acceleration. Past the Marina. Andretti still leads it. Sullivan closes down on him. It's a clean shot for Sullivan. Andretti down into turn 1. Look at Sullivan close down.
Well, that Whittington, Phil Whittington just kind of helped Mario a little bit, I think, right there. But, you know, the crowd is on their feet. The excitement is here. We're starting to have a super race for first place right now.
Sullivan has to find a move around Bill Whittington so he can regain his pursuit of Mario Andretti. He tries to the inside. Whittington lets him go. Now, Danny has Mario again. Can he catch him this lap?
Well, if Mario lets him pass, that's going to tell you right for sure that Mario's intending on one stop. Remember, if Danny passes him, he's going to have to acquire about a 20-second lead in order to make a pit stop.
There's that old maxim. It's not necessarily the fastest, but it's the guy who can go the slowest and still stay in front. That's what Andretti's thinking about right now.
The 150-mile races like this one, Paul, are always the most exciting from the fuel standpoint.
So Mario Andretti is out in front. Let's go down to Mario's pits and Gary Gerould.
Well, here in the Andretti pit, there's been a high-level strategy conference going on as members of the crew trying to determine now just what is going to happen down the stretch run. It's not at all like it was a year ago when Mario virtually ran off and hid from the field. He led wire to wire. Sullivan has been nipping away here in the last few laps, closing to within 2 seconds, and definitely a strong contender. The difference that Andretti's crew is pointing out to us, however, is the fact that Sullivan pitted 7 laps before Mario. They think there's the possibility that Mario can go the rest of the way without another stop. Of course, a yellow would bring him in immediately. So all of these things now rumbling through their minds as they try to defend the championship that they won here at Long Beach 1 year ago.
What a gamble it will be if they try and keep Mario in this race on one pit stop. Mario coming up behind the other Penske car. Big Al, 2 Penske cars straddling Andretti. Now Big Al catches a view of Andretti in his mirrors. Al pulls a little bit wide, indicating to Mario where he can go. But Sullivan is right behind Andretti. It's Sullivan and Andretti as they fight for the lead. They're back onto Shoreline. And the crew tells Mario, turn the power on. Pull away from Sullivan if you can.
Now remember, that came about a lap late. They would have told Mario, if he had a radio, they would have told him, boost up at least a lap earlier.
Last year in an article in Sports Illustrated, they called Danny Sullivan the hunk. And this Kentucky bachelor is certainly popular with the ladies, but he is popular here today with all the fans as he is right behind Andretti and trying everything he can to get past. Al Unser Sr. still a factor in front. Is he holding Andretti up?
Well, he's holding him up a little bit, Paul, but not very much. In some places, he's getting away from Mario. Al might be light on fuel. Mario might be heavy.
Almost impossible to run this circuit without holding them up in one place. It looks like Al is well aware that they're there and positions himself so they can come through. Here comes Sullivan. Sullivan alongside Andretti, and Sullivan takes the lead. That's the first time a man other than Andretti has led the race here at Long Beach under CART.
In 2 years. And remember now, Danny has to go at least 20 seconds ahead in order to have a chance of making another stop and still winning the race. Keep that in mind.
So the scenario is this. Danny Sullivan leads. Mario Andretti has made a stop. Sullivan has made a stop, but the indication is that Sullivan will have to stop again. We're still not certain about Andretti. He really may have to stop again as well.
Well, look at Danny pulling away right now. He's just pulling away. That means that Mario's cut his boost back again. Mario's still going to try to make it on one stop. Danny is dedicated to make it on two. He can still see he's got his boost up.
Well, Bobby, how can he do it? Years and years of experience. He has to turn his boost down and watch the guy go away in first place.
Well, he's going to have to bite his tongue, but that's what happens when you have a 150-mile race and 40 gallons of fuel on board. This is the way it turns out.
This is where the discipline that Andretti has practiced all his life will pay off. If he can only let Sullivan go, and let him go without going too far.
Mario is usually the rabbit. Mario is usually the chaser, usually the guy that hustles. But I'll tell you one thing, the older you get, the smarter you get, and he wants to win the race.
Let's go down to Danny Sullivan pit now. Bruce Jenner is there with a report on Sullivan's fuel load.
Roger Penske, you have to be pleased. New driver this year, Danny Sullivan, he just took the lead.
Well, he's doing a great job. He's worked hard, you know, with Rick on the sideline, done a great job, and of course with Al. What this means, Bruce, is we've got to try to finish now. It's going to be tight. This kind of race, anything can happen, especially the first race of the year.
Danny pitted on lap 37. Mario went all the way to 44. It looks like he may try to stretch his fuel out. Do you think it's important that Danny stays out on the lead to push him enough so he's got to keep the boost up and use up his fuel?
Well, we're definitely going to make a stop, so if Andretti doesn't have a stop, he can beat us.
Thanks.
Danny Sullivan is the leader, but part of this race being run in the pits as the teams decide whether or not to stop him for another load of fuel.
I don't think Roger Penske really meant what he said there. I think that was just a little bit of sour grapes because you watch and see. He'll have that Danny going harder and harder and harder till he knows he has a chance to win.
Well, Danny Sullivan pulling ever so slightly away from Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti just seems now satisfied to occupy that position. But what a juggling act he's involved in. He knows he has to turn the boost down to be able to save on fuel. But if he turns it down too far, then he's in real trouble. The third place car, the Patrick machine of Emerson Fittipaldi.
Well, Emerson is obviously in the same position Danny's in. It's a two-stop race for him, so he's running more boost. The big thing that's going to hurt Mario right now is the fact when his boost is down, he can't handle the traffic as well as he could if it's up. It means he has to follow the guys that are running slow a lot further than he normally would.
Andretti has the additional problem, too, of not having radio communications. Bruno Giacomelli comes into the Patrick pits. He waves off one of the kart officials, waves off his crew. Apparently something is seriously wrong on that machine. He brings it to a stop. The engine is off. And he begins to unbuckle, pulls the steering wheel off so he can climb out. The day is over for young Bruno Giacomelli.
Well, he's obviously done a very good job today. The Patrick cars are looking better right now than they've looked in the last 3 or 4 years, I'd have to say.
So we have a new leader, Danny Sullivan. There are the standings. The question is, when will they have to stop again? We'll be back. We're back in Long Beach, where Danny Sullivan in the Miller car number 4 is our new leader. Mario Andretti is driving an incredibly disciplined race. He is letting Sullivan drive away while he, Andretti, tries to conserve fuel.
Well, he realizes that the only chance that he has of winning this race is to go along with a dedicated one stop. If he makes 2 stops, Danny's ahead of him, no chance of winning it.
What makes it fascinating is now the race is not only in the control of the drivers, but also the pit crews are having an incredible influence on this race. They have to calculate, they have to figure, they have to communicate. In the case of Andretti, communication is not nearly as easy. His radio system is not working. They're doing all the communications between hand signals and the pit board. Let's go down into Andretti's pit now with Gary Gerould.
Well, down here in the Andretti pit, Paul, Tony Cicali right now has the computer. Down in this bag, as you can see, he's punching in a series of numbers that continue the high-level discussions and the strategy planning. What they're trying to figure out is whether or not Mario Andretti can go the distance without making that stop. Apparently, there's still a question. We know that Sullivan is going to have to come in. He has the big lead right now, which he enjoys, and they're trying to figure out here in the Andretti pit, if Sullivan makes his stop, whether or not Mario can get the lead, hold it, and still go the distance without running out of fuel.
Tony Cicali had his hand to his head. I'm not so sure that he's sure. I got a feeling that probably the plus or minus is 1 lap, and that lap happens to be the one the checkered flag's going to come out on.
I guess when you see that part, you start wondering just a little bit, don't you?
Let's go down to Bruce Jenner.
Derek Walker, how much time, how much of a lead does Danny Sullivan need to put on that fuel to be able to keep the lead?
I think he could probably just about do it now, about 12 to 15 seconds.
That's about right where you're at right now, so you feel fairly secure?
Sorry?
So you feel fairly secure, because that's right about where he's at right now.
Yeah, we're in a good spot right now. We're just going to sit tight and see what happens.
So Derek Walker, the team manager for the Penske stable, says they feel secure. Now, if they stop Danny Sullivan, it'll be a time stop, won't it, Bobby?
Yes, and when the car or when the tank has so many gallons of fuel in it, they know how many gallons they can fill out of that tank in so many seconds. Their stop will probably be around a 5 to 6 second stop.
So it won't take any time at all to give Sullivan just enough fuel to make it to the end of the race, and he may have just enough a lead now as we watch Emerson Fittipaldi in third. Back to the leader, Sullivan.
Well, the big deficit's going to be the slow down and the speed up. That's where they lose most of their time. It's not while they're in the pit. But remember, if he spends 2 seconds at a standstill, that's a long ways for Mario to gain on the racetrack.
But here at Long Beach, they really have an advantage that way. They come off of this turn, which is the slowest on the course, and then right into the pits, and they can run the pits pretty hot.
They leave the pits almost as fast as they would if they went down the straightaway fast.
So really, the Long Beach pits may just help them with that quick stop, so Sullivan might be able to stop and maintain his lead. The fight is between Andretti and Sullivan, but it is now a game of tactics, a game of thought. It is not being fought on the race course.
No, and there's an awful lot of it that's like flipping a coin, too. Believe me, some of these crew members definitely don't know what the answer is right now.
Old Lady Luck tends to wander into those pits and on that race course every now and then and screw up all the calculations.
If you make your decision right, you're a hero. Everybody pats you on the back. If you make it wrong, everybody says, boy, he was a dodo.
And for Mario Andretti, there is the additional problem that he cannot communicate with his crew by two-way radio. That hasn't existed since the start of the race. Well, now, down in the Penske pits, there is the report that they're doing some pretty serious calculations. Let's go back there and Bruce Jenner.
All right, you're going to be timing the fuel. How much fuel is going in the tank? How much time is he going to need to get the right amount of fuel in there?
We're going to give him 8 seconds of fuel going in.
So with a 15-second lead, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, here he comes.
So Danny Sullivan should any second now head for the pits. There he is, but he's dead on the road.
He's dead. He ran out of fuel. He's totally out of fuel. He could have something else wrong, but I doubt it. He ran out of fuel, and by golly, that's going to cost him.
Unbelievable. The Penske team miscalculated. Now he shook a little fuel into it. He's moving down. There's Andretti on the main stretch. Andretti is back into the lead. Sullivan just ran out of fuel on the circuit.
A tough break for Danny Sullivan, having to coast in with absolutely no fuel. The engine is dead. They've got the starter in the back trying to get it in. They say he needs 8 seconds of fuel. They're trying to get the engine restarted right now. The Penske team, and the fuel's on. Danny Sullivan back in. A very quick pit stop considering what happened, but I think he may have lost it when he ran out of fuel.
Well, Bruce and Bobby, if he wanted 8 seconds, I don't think he got it.
Oh, he was having trouble getting that nozzle in, and the way I see it, he just didn't get enough fuel. We'll just have to wait and see, though.
So Danny Sullivan comes in. He runs out of fuel on the way in. The stop doesn't appear to be all that Penske wanted it to be. Now, can he catch Mario Andretti? Andretti is back in the lead, but the question is, will Andretti have to stop?
Well, one thing for sure, they're both light on fuel, so they should both be fast. But my guess is Danny thinks he has enough fuel, so he'll have the boost turned up.
Well, he is certainly flying at the moment as car number 4. Danny Sullivan is on the charge, trying to catch the leader, Mario Andretti. Andretti led the first part of the race. Then it was taken over by Sullivan. Now in the closing laps here, Andretti is back out in front once again. But what are they doing down in the Newman Haas pits? The calculations continue down there. Let's return to that area. Here's Gary Gerould. Gary?
Well, Paul, I tell you, it's been an amazing series of high-level conferences. You see Paul Newman talking with Darrell Soppe, the crew chief. Tony Cicali has been in there. Newman's been back and forth a half dozen times. Everyone caught up in the suspense now, trying to figure out whether or not Andretti has the fuel to go the distance.
Down in the Roger Penske pits, Penske doing the same thing, checking calculations. Boy, Newman looked tense. Penske looked tense. Nobody seems to have all the real answers.
I think the guys on the racetrack are the luckiest right now. Would you look at everybody in the pits? They look like they're 100 years old immediately.
Well, Sullivan and Andretti don't know enough to be worried. Here is our new second-place car. By virtue of the long stop of Sullivan, Emerson Fittipaldi has now moved into second.
Emerson has been good, and he's been fast all day. And Emerson needs a good drive. He really does.
And Embo has been playing the same game that Andretti has. He turned the boost back. So Andretti leads. Fittipaldi second. Sullivan third. We'll be back for the finish. We're back in Long Beach with 9 laps to go. This is Paul Page with Bobby Unser, Gary Gerould, and Bruce Jenner, and there's your leader, the Beatrice Lola of Mario Andretti, second place. The 40 car of Emerson Fittipaldi. In third place is Danny Sullivan. In fourth place, there's the fourth place car sideways on the track. Al Unser Jr. Looks like he's got a bit of a fire.
He does, Paul. He's really hot. Something's on fire. There's sure a lot of smoke.
Well, Al Unser Jr. was running in fourth place, but he's stopped on the course now. Looked like a quick spin. We don't have a full report.
It doesn't look like he hit the wall, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Look at the concern on Darrell Safi's face. He's the crew chief for Andretti. There's Roger Penske and Peter Parrott. They're watching for Danny Sullivan. The question is, will either of these cars make it to the finish? It doesn't look like Sullivan got enough fuel on the last stop. And Andretti, we don't have any idea. Al Unser Jr. on the way almost gets the tires into Fittipaldi. As he gets restarted, still something wrong on his car. Some smoke and vapor pouring from the back.
That's not a burning type of vapor smoke. That's a steam like the water smoke, Paul. So I don't think he has a serious fire. I think he's probably got a water hose broken maybe, or radiator broken.
So Al Unser Jr. is off the course now. He had a fine ride to the moment. Sullivan now starts the fight for second place as he closes on Emerson Fittipaldi.
Well, this is going to be a heck of a race right here. You know, this has been one of the most exciting races. I think the people are honestly getting today what they paid to come to see. A fabulous race.
What a start for the 1985 PPG IndyCar World Series as Danny Sullivan fights for second place. He was the leader for a while. Then he ran out of fuel. As he was coming into a stop, he's back under power, but there's still a question. Have the tactics been played properly by the crews? Sullivan charges on Fittipaldi.
That Emerson's going to make every effort in the world to stay ahead of Danny Sullivan, I promise you. And he's tough. You know, he drove those Formula One cars for years, and he's super good on the road circuit.
Both of them through turn 9-10, heading for the hairpin. Sullivan pulls out a little wide so he can cut back in as he comes off the corner. But still, Fittipaldi maintains second.
Well, whoever gets off that turn the quickest is going to be the quickest down the straightaway. And it's the brake contest at the end. Right about here, we'll see if Danny can make the pass or not. Look, he's going to make an attempt at it.
Danny Sullivan charges inside Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi looks over, sees that the pass is clean, and like the veteran he is, lets Danny Sullivan on through. Now, can Sullivan catch Andretti?
Well, from the way Danny was going earlier, I'd say yes, he can catch him.
Let's go back to the Penske pits and Bruce Jenner.
Roger Penske, Danny Sullivan just moved back into second place in that pit stop. He ran out of fuel just a little bit too early. Did you go one lap too many?
Obviously, Bruce, I guess the gas gauge didn't work. Mario looks like he can run without a stop, as I said earlier, and we had to make 2 stops, so hopefully we can just finish now, and I'll be very glad for second.
Well, Roger Penske may have given up the race, but I'm not so sure that Danny Sullivan has. The leader is Mario Andretti. There you watch him through the second and third turn now.
Paul, Danny hasn't given up. He is running just as hard as he ran at any time today.
Danny Sullivan is definitely a hustler, but he has to come a long way to beat this man. He has 42 IndyCar victories to his credit. Can he make it number 43? Look at Sullivan. Not if Danny has anything to say about it.
No, he doesn't know that he's lost this race by any means. He still thinks he wants to win it.
Danny Sullivan, a mere rookie compared to the 42 wins of Andretti. Let's go back to Mario Andretti's pit and Gary.
Well, Paul, the decision has been made. The rubber has gone over the wall. The fueling hose is out. They're calling Mario Andretti in.
Andretti in turn 11 has to head for the pits now. On this, the white flag lap. But look at Andretti. Andretti stays out. The white flag given to Andretti. 1 lap to go, but but the crew wanted him in. Does he have enough fuel? There's Danny Sullivan as he's charging as well. Can Andretti make it around?
Well, we've seen more gambling and flipping of the coins here today than I've seen in many a race. He's going for broke all the way.
This isn't Long Beach. This is Las Vegas. Emerson Fittipaldi comes in on the last lap. Can Mario Andretti keep it running? Paul Newman is holding his breath. Andretti coming into the hairpin turn onto the straightaway. Can he make it to the finish line now? Al Unser Jr. and Sr. just in front of him. Andretti's done it!
Jubilation, of course, in the Andretti pits. Paul Newman, Carl Haas. Somebody looked like they even had a bottle of champagne down here. We saw something fly. This crew is as happy now as when they won the national championship at the end of the fall in Las Vegas. Quite a celebration here as the battle for further places on back continues on the track.
I don't think there's any breathing been done in that pit for the last 5 laps. Here is Danny Sullivan, but he is running slowly. He is not under full power. Danny Sullivan pulls off the line. They didn't get him enough fuel.
I guess their hunch was right, Paul. He didn't even make it to the pit gate.
Unbelievable. Danny Sullivan, who chased Andretti, didn't have enough fuel. He's right at the pit entrance.
Lord, what a race.
And here comes Emerson Fittipaldi to go around him. Emerson Fittipaldi finishes this race in 2nd place. A tremendous finish, and look at the crowd. Boy, they love it.
Well, there's one guy that doesn't love it, Danny Sullivan. Uh-oh, look at there. That's Al Jr.'s car with a real fire this time.
Fire on Al Jr.'s car. And look at Al's already out of the car. He has a fire extinguisher. He's going to put the fire out himself. So little Al is okay.
Well, he's had his problems today.
Well, Mario Andretti pulls down toward victory lane as Mario Andretti, for the 2nd year in a row and the 3rd time in his life, has won at Long Beach.
When you've got a...
Mario Andretti, the 43rd win of his career, $92,000 richer, and the first victory for Beatrice. In 3rd place, Danny Sullivan with Gary Gerould now.
Well, here's Danny Sullivan. I don't know if the emotions can be described. It's got to be a horrendous feeling.
No, not really. We gave it our best shot. We just ran out of fuel twice.
All right. There'll be other
They
races.
did their best shot.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
There's the attitude that'll make him a champion. The race run 5 miles an hour faster than at this point last year. As we take a look at the top 10, good finish for Jim Crawford, same as last year, best finish ever for a Weissert car. Let's meet our winner, Mario Andretti.
Mario Andretti here in victory lane. The blisters on the hands to prove how hard a day's work it was. This one had its ups and downs. You were on a roller coaster today, Mario.
Well, I ran as hard as I could, and then obviously what happened is the first part of the race, I had to stop 2 laps before I really wanted to because I just had too much consumption. So as soon as I got the full load of fuel, they told me how much fuel they put in there. So I backed the boost down to about 46 inches, and I had to go for about 12, 15 laps like that to ensure that I would make it without a stop. That was the only advantage that I thought I would have. So I didn't know what the others were doing. I anticipated that the others were going to do two stops, which means they were going to have a light load. Right. So we didn't have the communication, so they filled me up, and I figured the only chance I had was just to back it down and take my chances, and it worked.
That lack of communication becomes oh so important, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because it sort of reassures you what's going on, but I had to take a chance myself this time, and it worked.
Well, as the strategy turns out, it's a victorious return to Long Beach, and who knows, it may be the road toward a 2nd consecutive national championship.
Well, we're going to be working hard toward that, believe me.
Indianapolis right around the corner.
Well, we want to give it to Beatrice. They're the first year with us now, and we want to give them good taste of what they got into, and we want it to be a happy one for them as well.
Congratulations again. Always a pleasure to see you in victory lane, Mario.
Thank you.
All right, back up to you, Paul.
Big wave. Well, Gary, that certainly sets the stage for the next stop of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the 69th running of the Indianapolis 500. It's going to be one tremendous season. This is Paul Page for Bobby Unser, Gary Gerould, and Bruce Jenner. So long from Long Beach, California.